The sandstorm rolled across the Marine Corps training grounds like a living beast, clawing at every exposed face, filling boots, stinging eyes, and grinding into skin. Recruits grunted and cursed as they pushed through the obstacle course for the 5th time that morning. Their bodies were shaking, their shoulders scorched from hours beneath the unforgiving sun. But one figure moved with a quiet determination that was impossible to ignore, though many certainly tried. Her name was Lena Torres. 5'5", lean, calm, and to some of the Marines around her, that was all they needed to label her. Weak. The nickname had followed her from the second day of training. A sarcastic whisper from Corporal Briggs had sparked it, and soon half the platoon repeated it like a joke they thought was harmless. "Hey, weakling, don't fall behind. Hey Torres, need someone to carry your pack. Careful guys, you might break her." She never reacted, never snapped, never complained. That, more than anything, infuriated them. The truth was, she had come here with far more weight on her shoulders than the standard 80-pound ruck. She had grown up in a neighborhood where gunshots were more common than fireworks and where you either learned to protect yourself or learned to survive fear. She had spent years training in boxing gyms that smelled of sweat, leather, and cheap bleach. She had learned to fight to defend her younger brother from gangs, and learned to endure pain long before stepping onto Marine territory. But she didn't brag, didn't flex, didn't boast. She kept her story to herself. Her silence was her armor. But to the loudest Marines around her, silence meant weakness. During Combatives Week, the tension reached its breaking point. The recruits circled the training mat in the gym, the echo of boots against the rubber flooring bouncing off the walls. Sweat dripped from their brows as instructors barked commands, eager to evaluate footwork, defense, and control. Staff Sergeant Miller paced before them with the cold intensity of a man who'd seen enough battles to lose count. His voice carried like gravel dragged across metal. "Today we test not strength, not size. We test skill, precision, control. Remember, a Marine wins with discipline, not ego." That statement went over Briggs and his friends' heads as smoothly as wind over glass. When names were called for partner drills, Briggs smirked as he stepped toward Torres. "Come on, weakling," he called out loud enough for the whole room to hear. "Let's give you a soft landing." Some laughed, some winced. Torres simply tightened her gloves. Staff Sergeant Miller noticed. His eyes flicked between them, sharp, assessing, but he didn't intervene. Not yet. Briggs bounced on his toes, overconfident and clumsy in his arrogance. Torres remained still, hands up, centered. The moment Miller barked, "Begin," Briggs lunged, expecting an easy takedown. Torres shifted half an inch, deflecting his arm with surgical calm. The Marine stumbled past her, off balance, almost crashing to the mat. The room fell silent. Briggs rushed again, frustrated. She stepped aside, redirected his momentum, and he hit the ground harder. The air left his lungs in an ugly grunt. She hadn't thrown a punch, but everyone felt the sting of his embarrassment. "Enough." Miller stepped forward. "Torres, Briggs, fall back." But Briggs didn't like being embarrassed. As Torres stepped away, he grabbed her arm. Instinct activated, the survival instincts she had sharpened over a lifetime. In a blur, she twisted free, dropped her weight, and executed a flawless sweep that dropped him flat. When he tried to get up, she had already stepped back, hands up, eyes controlled, waiting for the next move that didn't come. His friends hauled him up, faces red with humiliation. Miller watched her with a new expression. He'd seen skill, discipline, and restraint. But Briggs saw only his pride bruised beyond repair. Over the next weeks, the harassment intensified. Not from all of them. Many respected her quietly, but the loud ones amplified the noise. Still, Torres kept her focus locked on her goal, earning the title of United States Marine. Every obstacle, every run, every drill, she pushed harder, refusing to break. Then came the day that turned her into a legend on the training grounds. It was a Saturday evening, usually quiet, meant for rest and recovery. But Briggs and 4 other Marines were in the gym, voices loud, energy aggressive. Torres walked in only to retrieve her water bottle she'd forgotten earlier, but the moment she stepped inside, they turned toward her. 5 of them, big, angry, eager for one thing: vengeance for their egos. Well, Briggs sneered. "If it isn't the little weakling. You embarrassed me in front of the whole platoon. Think we're just going to forget that?" Torres froze only for a second. Then she calmly grabbed her bottle, slung it into her bag, and stepped toward the exit. One of the Marines blocked her path. "Where you going? We're not done talking." Her heart hammered, but her mind stayed sharp. She evaluated the angles, their spacing, the exits. Years of street instincts surged back. She tried to walk around them. They moved as a unit, closing her in. "Move," she warned. They laughed. Briggs pushed her shoulder, hard, and the world snapped open. Torres didn't think. Her body moved with the speed of a striking viper. She planted her foot, rotated her hips, and unleashed a textbook-perfect cross to Briggs' jaw. The impact cracked through the gym like a whip. He dropped instantly, legs folding beneath him. The other Marines froze for a split second, just long enough. The second lunged forward with a predictable hook. She ducked under, drove her elbow into his ribs, then pivoted and landed a sharp palm strike under his chin. He collapsed backward in a heap. The third rushed her in panic. She sidestepped, hooked his ankle, and sent him crashing face first into a mat. He didn't get up. The fourth grabbed her from behind. She stomped his foot, twisted, and slammed her shoulder into his sternum. As he bent over, gasping, she swept his legs clean out. The fifth stared at her, stunned, massive, confused, but still stupid enough to charge. She relaxed her shoulders, exhaled, and waited. When he got close enough, she launched a perfect front kick that connected squarely with his chest. He flew backward into a pile of mats, breath gone, consciousness flickering. 5 Marines lay around her, groaning, dazed, humiliated. Torres didn't gloat, didn't shout, didn't smirk. She simply picked up her bag and walked toward the exit. As she reached the doorway, Staff Sergeant Miller appeared, having heard the noise from the hall. His eyes swept the room, taking in the bodies sprawled across the floor. Then he looked at Torres, shock fighting with admiration on his face. "Torres," he said carefully, "should I ask what happened?" She met his gaze steadily. "They blocked my exit, Staff Sergeant." He held the silence for a long moment. Then, in a tone almost amused, he muttered, "Understood." Word spread across the training grounds within hours. Not as gossip, but as stunned, electrified awe. 5 Marines, big, loud, cocky, had gone after the woman they mocked for weeks. And she took down every single one. By Monday morning, the whispers had changed completely. "That's her, Torres, the one who dropped 5 guys. She's not weak, man. She's something else. Bro, she's hardcore." But Torres didn't care for fame. She just trained harder, pushed further, stayed focused. But respect came naturally now, not because she fought for it, but because she had shown what real strength looked like. During graduation week, Miller pulled her aside. "You know," he said, "everyone's been talking about you. But I've watched you quietly. What you did wasn't anger. It wasn't ego. It was control. You're exactly the kind of Marine we need." She swallowed hard. "Thank you, Staff Sergeant. One more thing," he added. "If you ever tell your story somewhere, YouTube, a documentary, whatever, people need to hear it. Don't downplay who you are." She smiled for the first time during training. Maybe one day. Later, as she faced the camera in that final part of the script, she spoke directly to her audience, voice steady, eyes bright with strength earned from years of surviving what others couldn't imagine. "If you're watching this," she said with a quiet confidence, "don't let anyone decide your limits for you. They called me weak. They thought I didn't belong. But I knew who I was long before they did. And if you want more stories of women who rise above every challenge thrown their way, subscribe to the channel, Her World Stories. Trust me, there are so many more stories worth hearing." She walked away, uniform crisp, chin high, steps steady and unshakable. A warrior, not because she defeated 5 Marines, but because she never let their words define her. And that was the moment she became unforgettable.